If you are enjoying this video, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell. Share it with your friends and let me know in the comments, where are you watching from? Every like and subscribe helps the channel grow. I've driven trucks long enough to know that most people will never understand what really happens out here on the open road, especially when the sun goes down and the highway stretches on like some black ribbon through a never-ending nightmare. There's something about the night that changes everything. The silence, the emptiness, the strange lights, the things that aren't supposed to exist. My name's Raymond Carter. Been driving rigs since I was 21, 35 years on the road, and what I'm about to tell you happened about 5 years ago. But the memory still clings to me like cold sweat on a winter morning. I wasn't always the kind of man who believed in ghosts or monsters. I was practical, hard-headed, a man of logic. But logic doesn't mean shit when your headlights illuminate something that should not be standing in the middle of a two-lane road in the middle of nowhere. It all started on a long-haul job from Denver to Sacramento. It was supposed to be an easy run. Weather was good, roads were clear. I had my thermos full of strong black coffee, a full tank of diesel, and a classic rock playlist queued up. Just another night, just another job. But when I crossed into Nevada and hit that long, lonesome stretch of Route 50, the so-called loneliest road in America, I started feeling watched. Now, if you've ever driven that route, you know it's flat and desolate. Mountains in the distance, sagebrush stretching for miles. Not much else. The kind of place where your mind starts to wander. You see mirages, shapes out of the corner of your eye. At first, I thought that's all it was. Just tricks of light, the result of too much caffeine and too little sleep. But that night, something was different. Around 2:30 a.m., I saw the first one. It looked like a woman just standing there on the shoulder, pale as a corpse, with long black hair hanging in wet strands across her face. I barely had time to register her before I passed by, and when I checked my mirrors, she was gone. No trace of her, no footprints in the sand. I told myself I imagined it. Maybe it was a billboard, a trick of the moonlight. But my gut told me something else. About 20 minutes later, I started getting static on the radio. I wasn't talking CB chatter, I'm talking something darker. A low hum like someone whispering directly into my ears. I turned off the radio, but the hum continued. That's when I realized it wasn't coming from the speakers. It was coming from inside the cab. Now, I've driven in fog thick enough to cut with a knife through snow so bad I couldn't see the hood ornament. But nothing ever felt like this. It wasn't the dark that scared me. It was the feeling of being hunted. Suddenly, my headlights flickered. The dash lights dimmed. The engine coughed once, twice, then roared back to life. I didn't stop. I pressed harder on the gas. I just wanted to make it through that stretch and reach Fallon by sunrise. But the road had other plans. Up ahead, I saw another figure. This one was standing directly in the middle of the highway. I laid on the horn. No reaction. I hit the brakes hard. Tires squealed against the asphalt as the rig skidded. The headlights lit her up perfectly. The same pale skin, same black hair. But now I could see her eyes. They weren't human, no pupils, just milky white, orbs, staring straight into me. And she smiled. A slow, cruel smile that twisted her whole face into something unnatural. I swerved. The trailer jackknifed slightly, but I kept it on the road. My heart was slamming against my ribs like it wanted out. I didn't look back this time, I couldn't. But I saw her again. Every few miles. Same figure. Same smile. Sometimes on the shoulder. Sometimes in the median. Once, standing atop a road, sign that shouldn't have supported her weight. And each time I felt her getting closer. By the time I reached the gas station outside Fallon, I was shaking. I parked under the floodlights and ran inside like a man possessed. The clerk gave me a strange look, said I looked like I'd seen a ghost. I didn't answer. Just bought more coffee, a pack of smokes, and sat outside under the harsh lights, watching the desert around me. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't even blink much. Just sat there in the cab, watching the mirrors, waiting for that pale face to show up again. But it didn't end there. I got back on the road the next morning, sun just barely cresting the horizon, painting the desert in gold and orange. Everything looked normal again. Too normal. It was like the night had swallowed up all the horror, erased the fear, replaced it with heat and silence. But I couldn't forget. My hands trembled on the wheel. I kept glancing in the mirrors, expecting her to be riding in the back of the trailer, or crouched on the roof like some nightmare hitchhiker. I drove until my eyes burned and my neck ached, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed me out of that stretch of road. Something old, something patient. It wasn't until I pulled into a truck stop in Reno that I heard from another driver. Guy named Doyle. Grizzled type. Wore a leather vest, beard down to his chest, smelled like diesel and regret. He saw me staring into my coffee cup like it held answers. "You see her too?" he asked, voice low. I looked up. "What?" The woman on the highway. Pale skin, long black hair. Eyes like milk. I froze. Didn't say a word. Just nodded. "She's real," he whispered. "Been haunting that stretch of Route 50 for decades. They say she was killed in a wreck out there back in the 70s. Hitchhiking. Trucker didn't see her in time. Smeared her 50 feet down the asphalt. Some say it was an accident, others say he was drunk. Either way, he died a week later. Ran his rig off a bridge. Only thing they found intact was his CB radio." Doyle lit a cigarette with hands that shook more than mine. "They say if you see her once, she sticks with you, starts showing up in your mirrors, in your dreams, and eventually, well, some drivers vanish, rig and all." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You telling me I'm cursed?" "I'm telling you," Doyle said, "don't take Route 50 at night ever again. Not unless you want to end up just like the others." I tried to listen to him. I really did. But trucking isn't a life that gives you choices. We go where the load goes. And a few weeks later, I had another job. Midnight run. Elko to Ely. Route 50 again. I asked for a different route. Said I didn't like that one. Dispatcher. Didn't care. "Highway's open," he said. "Take it or lose the contract." So I took it. And that's when the real horror began. That night something changed. She didn't just appear anymore. She moved. I was maybe an hour into the run when I saw the shape on the side of the road. Thought it was roadkill at first, but as I got closer I saw the blood, fresh blood, smears of it, trails leading off the asphalt. I slowed down. Couldn't help myself. Curiosity is a killer, especially for drivers. That's when I saw the figure standing 50 yards ahead. Not in the road. Above it. She was floating. Just a few inches off the ground, dress fluttering like it was caught in a breeze I couldn't feel. Her mouth opened, and I swear to God I heard my name, not a whisper, my name. Raymond. I floored it. The truck lurched forward, engine growling, tires screeching. I didn't care. I kept driving. Didn't slow down for curves. Didn't care about the weight in the trailer. All I wanted was to get the hell off that road, but she didn't let me. I started seeing flashes in the mirrors. Her face. Then her hand slapping against the back window. Then her reflection in the side mirror even when there was no one there. Worse, the truck started to change. I mean it. The air got colder. The radio turned itself on. Static first. Then voices. My voice repeating things I'd never said. "She's mine now," it said in my tone. "She belongs to the road." I killed the radio. Threw the damn thing out the window, but the voices didn't stop. They just got louder. Closer. Then I started seeing others. Not just the woman, men, children, all of them pale, all of them twisted. Their faces pressed against the glass of the cab, eyes blank, mouths moving without sound. Dozens of them. Hundreds. I don't remember pulling over. I don't remember falling asleep. But I remember waking up. The sun was high. The truck was stopped. On the shoulder, no traffic, no sound. But there were handprints all over the windows, inside and out. Bloody ones. Some of them tiny, like from a child. I drove to the nearest way station and told them I was quitting. Said I had to stop before I lost my mind. But they told me something I'll never forget. "You never made it through that route last night," the officer said. "Your GPS showed you circling the same 20-mile stretch for 6 hours straight, like you were stuck." I told him I'd made it at least 200 miles. Showed him my logbook. But the timestamps didn't match. I'd been trapped. Driving. In circles. For 6 hours. On a road that should have taken one. That's when I realized she wasn't just haunting the road anymore. She was inside the truck. I didn't sleep much after that night. Even after I quit the job, sold the truck, tried to put everything behind me. She stayed with me. I'd see her in reflections, mirrors, windows, even puddles after rain. I started hearing her voice in places she had no business being. Grocery stores, parking lots, my own damn kitchen. I moved back to my hometown in Wyoming. Small town, no traffic lights, barely 1,000 people. I figured maybe if I got far enough from the road, from her, it would all stop. Maybe I could find peace again, start over, grow old in some quiet little corner of the world where ghosts don't follow you home. But peace is a lie when the road wants you. I lived alone in a small trailer on the outskirts of town, worked part-time fixing farm equipment, kept to myself. Nobody really knew what happened to me. I didn't tell them. What could I say? That I'd been haunted by a ghost who lived in the endless miles of highway I used to love? But one night, about 6 months after I came back, I got a call, blocked number. No voice, just static. Then beneath the static, something whispered, "Time to come back, Raymond." I hung up, heart hammering in my chest. The phone rang again, and again. All night. The next morning, I found fresh tire tracks outside my trailer. Big ones, 18-wheeler sized. But there was no engine noise, no headlights, just the tracks, looping around my home, over and over. Like something had circled me while I slept. That's when the dreams started. I'd wake up in cold sweat, images burned into my brain, highways stretching into forever, deserted way stations filled with shadows, CB radios hissing with whispers. I'd see the faces of other truckers, dead eyes staring at me, mouths hanging open in silent screams. And always her. She never looked the same twice, sometimes young, sometimes old, sometimes half-burned, like she'd crawled out of the wreckage of 100 fiery crashes. But her eyes were always the same, blank, white, and filled with endless hunger. I tried to fight it, tried burning everything connected to my old life. Uniform, photos, my logbooks, even my license, but it didn't stop, it just got worse. I started losing time. Wake up and it'd be dark, hours gone. Find diesel on my clothes even though I hadn't touched a truck in months. My boots would be muddy. My trailer floor wet like I'd walked through a storm. Once I found keys in my pocket that didn't belong to me. Truck keys. Old Freightliner brand. Rusted. Blood on the key ring. And then came the knock. Middle of the night. Cold outside. Snow falling. 3 slow knocks on the trailer door. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Then I heard it. A low hum. An engine. Not from outside. From underneath me. Like the road itself had come alive beneath my trailer. And then, the horn. Long, low, hollow. The kind of horn you only hear from rigs. Deep-throated and bone-shaking. Except it wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from inside my head. I opened the door. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to see if it was real. Maybe part of me already knew the truth. There was no truck, just black road stretching out from my trailer steps where grass should have been. The whole world had changed. The trees were gone, my yard was gone, my neighbors, my town, gone. Only road, lit by moonlight and nothing else. And standing 30 feet ahead, illuminated in that pale silver glow, was her. She held something in her hands. A steering wheel. My steering wheel. Blood dripped from it, down her arms, soaking her dress. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. I understood I hadn't quit trucking, I never stopped, I was still on the road. And I always would be. But this isn't just my story. There are others. In the months that followed, I began reaching out. Message boards, trucking forums, old CB groups. Quiet places where drivers tell the stories no one else wants to hear. And that's when I realized the horrifying truth. She's not just on Route 50 anymore. She's spreading. Truckers from all over the country were reporting similar things. A pale woman on dark highways, radios going dead, time loops, ghost towns, drivers who vanish mid-run leaving behind rigs full of blood, doors locked from the inside, and some of them, God help them, came back. But they weren't right. Their eyes were too wide, they didn't blink, didn't speak, just sat in their trucks at truck stops and watched the road, like they were waiting for something, or someone. I met one of them in person once. This was outside Amarillo. Guy was parked in a rest area, sitting in his cab with the engine off, just staring. I tapped on his window. No reaction. I opened the door. He turned his head slowly. His face looked wrong, like wax, melting, eyes cloudy, and when he spoke, it wasn't his voice, it was hers. "She's coming for you, Raymond, and next time you won't wake up." I left Amarillo that same night. I didn't pack, didn't tell anyone, just drove. Borrowed an old F-150 from a farmer I'd worked for and hit the road heading west. No destination in mind, just movement. I figured if I kept moving, she couldn't catch me, couldn't trap me in one of those loops, couldn't drag me back to whatever part of hell she'd pulled herself from. But it didn't matter, because the road, it's hers now, and I think it always was. I crossed into New Mexico, kept to the back roads, slept in the truck during the day, drove through the night, avoided highways, never stayed in the same place twice. I kept the radio off, the mirrors turned inward, but she still found me. One night I pulled into an abandoned gas station near Gallup, tank nearly empty. I figured maybe I could siphon something from one of the old pumps. The place looked like it had been closed for decades. Windows shattered, the roof caved in, but as I stepped out of the truck, I heard it again. That horn, long, slow, distant, but not far enough. I spun around. Nothing there. Desert and stars. Silence. But then the lights flickered on. The gas station, dead for decades, lit up like a carnival. Fluorescents buzzing. Neon open sign glowing bright red. And standing just beyond the pumps was a truck. Not just any truck. My truck. The one I sold. Same dented front bumper. Same cracked windshield. Same faded sticker of my daughter's handprint on the passenger window. It shouldn't have been there. I walked toward it. I don't know why. Maybe I thought I could reclaim it. Maybe I thought I could end this. The driver's door opened on its own. The cab was dark inside. Too dark. Like it swallowed the light. I stepped closer. My heart was a drumbeat. My mouth dry. And then I saw her, sitting in the driver's seat, head down, hair hanging, hands on the wheel. Then she looked up. Her face was rotted, eyes milky, mouth split into a jagged smile. Blood oozed from her ears, her nose, her eyes. And she said, "Ride with me, Raymond." I ran. Didn't think. Didn't look. Eck. I jumped in the borrowed truck and floored it down the highway. The desert turned to blur, the stars seemed to flicker. I drove until the engine coughed, until the sun rose, until I passed out behind the wheel. When I woke up, the truck was gone. The gas station was gone. But the tire marks remained. I thought about ending it. That's the truth. After everything, I'd seen everything I'd lost. I didn't want to keep running. But then I thought about the others. The ones like me. The ones still alive. Still barely holding on. So I started hunting her. Not to stop her. I know now she can't be stopped. But maybe I could understand her. Maybe I could learn what she is. And maybe, just maybe, I could help someone else escape. I began keeping notes. Patterns, appearances, rumors. I spoke to dispatchers, mechanics, diner waitresses. I looked into every unsolved trucker disappearance over the past 30 years. The dots connected. a line drawn in diesel and blood across the highways of America. She was always near wreck sites, especially head-on collisions, crashes with no clear cause. CB chatter reporting a woman in the road seconds before impact. One driver said she climbed through his windshield before the flames took him. His body was found, burned, but there were no broken windows, only blood on the inside. I followed stories across Texas, Oklahoma, up through Kansas and Missouri. It didn't matter where I went, someone had seen her. But the details, and they changed. Sometimes she was weeping, sometimes screaming, sometimes dragging chains behind her, the sounds echoing down the highway for miles. One driver claimed she had no face at all, just a swirling void. Another swore she spoke in his mother's voice. But it was always the same feeling. Cold, paralyzing, wrong, and it always ended the same way. With silence. With a rig abandoned on the shoulder. Driver gone. No signs of struggle. No footprints. Just empty clothes in the driver's seat, sometimes still warm. Keys in the ignition. Engine running like they were erased. The worst story I ever heard came from a kid named Jake, barely 20, just got his license. First long-haul job. Route 93 through Nevada. Middle of the night, clear sky. He picked up a hitchhiker, said she looked scared. Barefoot. Dirty. Pale. Said he tried to ask if she was okay, but she just stared ahead. Silent. They drove together for 30 miles. Then, she turned her head. Her eyes were pitch black. Her mouth opened, and a scream came out that shattered the truck's rearview mirror. Jake said he swerved into another world. His words, not another lane, another world. A place where the road was suspended in darkness. No sky, no stars, just black. And voices. Thousands of voices whispering from beneath the asphalt. He woke up days later in a hospital in Boise, dehydrated, starving. No memory of how he got there. His rig, never found. Not even a scrap. So I keep driving now. Not on the clock, not for cargo, just chasing rumors, looking for signs, gas stations with old bloodstains, mile markers that shift when you blink, CB radios that hiss your name. She's everywhere, and she's growing stronger. She doesn't just want to haunt the highways anymore. She wants to become them. It was somewhere near the Idaho border when I first saw the black highway. I don't mean asphalt at night, I mean something wrong. I'd been tracking another disappearance, a veteran driver named Harold Bones Kepler. He ran a route through the Rockies weekly, solid record. Then one night he just vanished. No signs, no skid marks, no wreckage. His truck's GPS pinged a dozen times in the exact same coordinates. Then silence. I drove to the spot myself. Back roads. Forest on either side. Snow dusting the trees like powdered sugar. Around 2 a.m., my headlights caught something strange. The pavement ahead changed. Not broken, not repaired, just changed. Blacker than black. It didn't reflect my lights. It swallowed them. I stopped the truck and stepped out. That stretch of road was colder than the rest. The snow didn't touch it, it was dry as a bone, not a flake on its surface. I crouched down and touched it. It hummed. A low, vibrating thrum in my fingertips. Like it was alive. Then I heard it. Not her voice. His. Raymond. It was Bones. I turned around, scanning the trees. Nobody there. But the voice came again, closer now. She showed me, Ray, what the road really is. I ran back to the truck. That's when I noticed the mirrors. Every one of them showed my own reflection, but twisted. My eyes were bleeding. My skin sagging. Something was behind me, looming in the cab, its fingers brushing my shoulders in the mirror. But when I turned around, nothing. Just cold air. And then I was back in the driver's seat, engine already running. Except, I didn't remember starting it. I didn't remember getting in. And the road ahead of me wasn't the same. It stretched on forever. No signs, no curves, no horizon. Just a narrow black ribbon into the void. The stars above me blinked out one by one like someone was switching off the sky. I drove. I didn't mean to. I tried to hit the brakes, but the truck ignored me. The speedometer climbed. 50, 60, 70. I watched the world fall away behind me, trees dissolving, ground warping like heat haze. I realized then, I wasn't in our world anymore. The road had taken me in. That's when I saw them. Figures, walking alongside the truck. No sound, just gliding. Dozens of them. Drivers. I recognized some. Old friends, co-workers, ghosts from forums and dispatch logs. All of them pale with headlights burned into their eyes. Their lips moved in unison. She's the asphalt now. She's the wind. She's the road. The steering wheel jerked in my hands. I fought it. The rig pulled hard to the right toward a pit on the side of the road. It wasn't a ditch. It was a hole. Deep. No bottom. And it wasn't natural. It breathed like a lung. I managed to pull back. Tires screamed. The truck swerved across the blacktop. I slammed the brakes. Smoke curled from the tires as the rig skidded and came to a halt inches from the edge. Silence. Then I looked to my right. She was sitting in the passenger seat, smiling. Blood soaked her dress, dripping steadily to the floor. Her mouth opened, and her voice crawled into my ears like a worm. "You'll drive forever, Ray, you already are." When I woke up, I was lying on a roadside bench, some rest stop outside Spokane. No truck, no keys, no shoes, just me. And in the distance, the faint echo of a truck horn, low and fading. The next several months were a blur. I hitchhiked, worked odd jobs, drank too much, slept in motels and under bridges. But I kept hearing stories. New ones. Ones that sounded like mine. People in small towns whispering about ghost rigs barreling through stop signs. Black trucks with no plates that vanish when you blink. Drivers who come into diners, sit down, order a meal, and then walk out, leaving pools of water and the smell of diesel behind. She was spreading. Not just in the highways now, but the towns nearby. Rest stops, truck depots, way stations, even homes. I got a call from a woman in Montana who said her husband, a driver for 20 years, started speaking in tongues in his sleep. He tried to drive their house down the street one night, gripping the couch like a steering wheel, whispering, "Loads, light. Let's roll, sweetheart." She found tire tracks in their living room. That's when I met Carter, ex-Navy. Tough, paranoid. He'd survived 2 full disappearances and come back. First one was in 2013. Lost 5 days on a midnight run through Utah. Second time was worse. 2021. Said he went through a tunnel that wasn't on any map. Came out the other side and the year was wrong. His beard had grown 3 inches. His radio wouldn't stop whispering coordinates. He showed me. It led to a road in Colorado, one that shouldn't exist. I went there. What I found was her chapel. It sat in the middle of the forest, surrounded by blacktop like a nest. The trees bent away from it, like they feared it. The structure looked like an old rest area chapel, the kind you see in remote places where truckers pray before another long stretch. But inside, it wasn't holy. The walls were lined with license plates, all burnt, all warped. Some from the 70s, others brand new. Blood smeared across the altar, tire marks on the floor. And in the corner, a logbook. Names, dates, dozens of them. Each name matched a disappearance. One entry at the very bottom wasn't written in ink. It was scratched into the paper with a fingernail. Raymond J. Colton, in transit. I stared at that last line for what felt like hours. Raymond J. Colton, in transit, my name. Scratched into the page like a curse, not missing, not deceased, just in transit. Like I wasn't dead, but I wasn't alive either. Like I was stuck somewhere between here and there, like a shipment that never arrives but never gets returned. Something in me broke that night. I tore the logbook apart, page by page, set it on fire with a lighter I kept for emergencies. The flames didn't catch at first. The paper writhed, twisted, breathed. It screamed, a high, keening wail like metal bending in a car wreck. But I kept going, burned the whole chapel down. Every plate, every board, every inch of that cursed place. I left before it turned to ash. But as I drove away, my rearview mirror showed something it shouldn't have. The chapel was still standing. I started meeting others like me, not long after. Not truckers, necessarily, just people marked by the road. A waitress in Wyoming who said every night, the same truck parks outside her diner at 2:14 a.m. No driver ever steps out, but someone always leaves a bloody napkin folded into a triangle on the counter. A rest stop. Janitor in Ohio who found an extra stall in the men's bathroom, one that wasn't there before. Inside, nothing but a road map and a human tooth. A boy in Arizona who stopped speaking after he saw a semi drive through his bedroom wall one night, without leaving a scratch. There were too many stories. They all pointed to one truth. The road was feeding, not just on people, on reality. I kept notes. Mapped sightings. I saw the pattern stretch like veins across the country. Black highways, phantom exits, ghost towns with fuel pumps still warm. And always, the same whisper when you got too close. Let me drive. Not a demand. A plea. And, when you said no, she'd find another way in. Your tires would burst on empty stretches. Your brakes would fail on mountain roads. Your GPS would reroute you into fog, where the air grows thick like syrup and your radio only plays her voice. Once, I found myself back in Piedmont, Missouri, a place I'd never been before, yet somehow remembered. The people stared too long, blinked too slow. The local truck stop sold maps with roads that didn't exist. I bought one. The cashier smiled with too many teeth. She said, "Safe travels, Ray." I never told her my name. I hit my lowest point somewhere outside Utah flatlands. Sky stretched wide like a throat. My engine gave out. Cell signal dead. I sat on the hood of the truck and looked up at the stars. I thought I was done. Then I heard a horn, far off soft calling. I knew it wasn't just her. Not this time. This sound was older, deeper, like the bones of the highway were groaning. The sky split open. No lightning. Just darkness. A second sky. I swear to God it was upside down. Roads twisting through clouds. Trucks driving in silence, some without drivers. And I saw one. Exactly like mine, except I was behind the wheel, but I wasn't moving. I was staring back at myself. Mouth open. Eyes black. Blood leaking from my ears, then it vanished. The horn cut off, and I was alone again. From then on, I didn't try to run. I started listening. There are signals out there. Faint, quiet things that crawl between the static. Frequencies that only truckers tuned to the right desperation can hear. Wavelengths full of lost voices whispering coordinates, confessions, warnings. One of them told me about mile marker 187. Not just any highway, a place that shows up on every route, even where it shouldn't. You pass it once, you forget it. You pass it twice, your eyes start to bleed. The third time, you don't pass it at all. It swallows you. I knew I'd passed it before. That marker had shown up in Kansas, then again in California, and once even in Connecticut. Impossibly far from the rest. I began to think mile 187 wasn't a place. It was a gate. I planned to cross it on purpose. I made peace with myself. No family. Left no friends, just me and the road. I loaded my truck with supplies, food, water, extra batteries, tapes, salt crosses, an old CB rig wired into shortwave frequencies. I filled the glove compartment with every holy symbol I could find. Crucifixes, rosaries, rabbit's feet, even a copy of the Quran and a bag of white ash a Wiccan gave me at a truck rally. "Burn it only when she comes close," she said. Drove for 7 days, never stopped, just waited, and on the 8th night, mile 187 appeared, in Nevada, then again in Utah, then again, impossibly, in Georgia. Same marker, same angle, same shadow underneath it. I passed it the third time at exactly 3:33 a.m., and the world flipped. The road peeled back like paper. The sky turned red. My tires melted into the pavement, and suddenly I wasn't driving anymore. I was riding, and she was behind the wheel, her head twisted backward, face grinning. Hands fused to the wheel by black sinew. We didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. She drove through towns I remembered, ones I'd never seen, and then through places that couldn't exist. Highways in the sky, cities buried beneath sand, intersections lined with bones, service stations where the pumps fed on blood, and through it all she whispered one phrase again and again, not to me, but to herself. The road is growing. The road is thinking. The road is waking up. It's been months since that crash in Missouri, maybe longer. I've stopped counting days. Nights blend together out here. Gas station lights flicker like stars. Coffee tastes like ash. My rig hums beneath me like a second heart. And sometimes, I swear I can feel it dreaming, but I haven't quit. If anything, I've doubled down. There's a war going on out here. Not one you'll see on TV. No uniforms, no flags. Just the hum of rubber on pavement and the quiet, suffocating truth that not all highways are real. Some were never built by men. They were born. I met someone the other night. First time I've let anyone ride shotgun since Utah. Her name was Hannah. Early 30s. Tough, quiet, burned-out eyes like mine. I found her on the shoulder near I-80, thumb out, backpack slung over one shoulder. Normally I'd keep going, but something about her made me stop. She climbed in, said, "You see the sign too?" I didn't answer. She just nodded like she already knew. We drove for hours, not saying much, but around midnight she pulled out a photograph. Black and white. Looked old. 1960s maybe. It showed a truck stop, blurry from motion. But there was something wrong with it. The trucks, they had faces. No, not painted ones. Real ones. Human-like. Grinning. Their headlights were eyes, and their grills were wide, hungry mouths. Hannah said, "This place isn't just haunted, it's feeding, always has been." She wasn't wrong. I've seen roadkill blink at me. I've heard CB chatter in languages no one speaks. I once passed a wreck where the driver's body was gone, but his scream was still echoing, like it was trapped in the twisted steel. We stopped at a diner near Route Corsair. It wasn't on any map. No GPS, no cell signal. The windows were tinted so dark you couldn't see inside. But when we walked in, it was full. Truckers. Every table taken. But no one moved. No one blinked, and their plates were full of bones. A waitress walked up to us. Skin pale as moonlight, hair like motor oil. She asked, "Counter or booth?" We backed. Out didn't say a word. As the door closed behind us, I looked back, and the entire diner was gone. Hannah told me she was looking for her brother. He'd been a long-haul driver like me. Went missing 6 years ago. Left one message before he disappeared. It said, "She's building an off-ramp, one only the dead can take." I knew what that meant. I'd seen it before. On a stretch of I-40 in New Mexico. A gravel turnoff that shouldn't exist. No lights. No signs. Just a single wooden stake with a skull nailed to it, its jaw wired shut. That's where the road starts to change. Turns inward, like it's folding you into itself. We made a plan. Track sightings, find the entrances, the veins of this living road. Map them. Stop the spread, if we could. It was a suicide mission. But when you've already died once, you stop caring about survival. You start caring about truth. And the truth is, she's not alone anymore. She has children, other spirits, other forces, born from car wrecks, burned rubber, spilled blood. There's one they call the brake man, who appears when your truck won't stop. His eyes are brake lights and his breath smells like scorched tires. There's a girl named Cassie who dances in the road, And if you run her over, she climbs into your back seat and tells you your secrets until you go insane. And there's the hauler, a massive, driverless semi that carries a cargo of screaming souls. I've heard them, late at night, begging to be let out. We found one of her gates 2 weeks ago, behind an abandoned way station in Montana. The pavement there was breathing. No joke. It rose and fell like lungs. The air was thick with rot. The sky bled red at the edges. And in the center was a hole, not a pothole, a mouth, circular, ringed with broken glass and bone. Hannah stepped close, whispered something I didn't catch, and suddenly, a voice came out of it. "You're too late. The road is awake, and it's hungry." She begged me to leave her there, said it was the only way to get her brother back. I tried to stop her, but she jumped, didn't scream, just smiled. The mouth closed after her, and the pavement went still. I haven't seen her since. But sometimes, on long nights, I hear her voice come through the radio, soft crackling, singing an old lullaby about wheels turning and dreams dying. I'm tired, friend, but I can't stop. Not yet. Too many drivers still out there, headed into the dark, thinking it's just another haul. Another lonely night. They don't know. They don't see the eyes watching from the mile markers. They don't hear the heartbeat under the yellow lines. They don't feel the hum in their spine every time they drive through fog that wasn't there yesterday. But I do. And I'm trying to warn them. Through gas station walls, on scratched bathroom mirrors, scribbled into Bibles left in glove compartments, even carved into the back of a speeding ticket I got in Arizona. Stay off, mile 187. The deeper I go, the stranger it gets. I'm not sure if I'm crossing states anymore or dimensions. Everything feels unstable, like I'm hauling freight across the veins of a dying god. There's one stretch of road in particular, somewhere between Oklahoma and nowhere, that refuses to stay straight. I swear I've driven it 4 times, and each time it reshapes itself. Exit signs point to return instead of cities. Billboards display my own face with the words, "Have you seen this man?" And once, I passed a mirror instead of a mile marker, and in it I saw myself behind the wheel but with no skin, just grinning muscle and bloody bone, driving the rig like a man possessed. I stopped in a town that wasn't on any map. A single gas station, a motel, and a chapel. No name, no people. Just rows of parked trucks, each one still idling, engines humming in sync like a choir of sleeping beasts. I stepped into the chapel out of curiosity or stupidity. I'm not sure which. It was filled with drivers, all sitting in pews, all facing forward. Not a single one moved. They weren't dead. But they weren't alive either. Each had a CB radio embedded in their chest, and from each one came static. Intermittent bursts of voices, screams, sirens. One whispered over and over, "She's coming up the on-ramp. She's coming up. The on-ramp. She's coming." I turned to leave, and the doors slammed shut behind me. There was a figure on the altar. She wasn't preaching. She was listening. Hunched over, her fingers plugged into an old GPS unit, blood trickling down the screen. It showed nothing but red lines like veins, and the longer I stared, the more I realized those weren't roads. They were routes of possession. Each one marked a place where a driver lost their mind, or soul, or worse, where the rig kept driving. Long after the body in the seat went cold, she looked up at me. And in that voice I'll never unhear, she said, "The road doesn't end, Ray. It multiplies. Every wreck is a seed. Every ghost you pass is fertilizer." I ran. Didn't stop until I reached the rig. Didn't look back. But when I turned the ignition, the radio was already on. A child's voice whispered, "Drive faster. She's catching up." I'm not alone in this anymore, not just the ghost, not just her. There's a network now, other drivers who've seen too much, heard things they weren't supposed to, smelled burning rubber in their dreams. We talk in code, leave signs at truck stops, write warnings in oil on bathroom walls. Some call it the Brotherhood of the Blacktop. Others call it the Last Haul. Me? Just call it survival. One of them, an old-timer named Red, told me about Exit Zero. He said it doesn't show up unless you've lost something important. Family, time, sanity. Once you qualify, the sign appears. Exit Zero. Last chance to turn. Back, he said, if you take it, you either wake up in your own grave or you come out the other side changed. One guy drove through and now speaks in engine codes. Another can't go near mirrors without screaming. One woman sees every mile marker as a tombstone, each with a different name, some hers. Red said the worst part is you never know if you've taken it until it's too late. I think I saw Exit Zero last night. The sign blinked into view, all warped and flickering. The off-ramp looked like a scar. Torn into the land, I didn't take it, but I know I'll see it again. Maybe I'm not ready yet. Maybe the road has more to show me. A few nights ago, I passed another truck. Same make, same model as mine. But it was identical. Down to the dent in eye. The fender, the sticker on the bumper, the blood stain on the passenger seat I could never get out. I honked. It didn't respond. As I passed it, I looked in. The driver's face. It was mine. Mummified, mouth open in a silent scream. Eyes long gone, but still wet. I've started blacking out again, driving stretches of hundreds of miles with no memory, waking up in rest stops I've never seen, with fuel tanks full and my logbook filled out in handwriting that isn't mine. Once I woke up with a scar on my chest and beneath it something ticking. I went to a clinic. They said there was nothing there, but I can feel it. Every time I pass a certain curve or hear a certain voice on the CB, it skips. Like a heart. Like a warning. I'm recording all of this now, not for fame, not for help, but for the ones who are already doomed. The greenhorns, the night runners, the old men who've driven so long they don't even blink when a headless hitchhiker waves them down. I'm writing for you, because this isn't a job anymore. It's a sacrifice. And the road? The road is watching. I passed a wreck last week. Not unusual in itself. Twisted metal, shattered glass, emergency lights painting the night in strobes of blue and red. But there were no bodies. Just a single truck flipped sideways, its trailer torn open like something burst out of it from the inside. The troopers on scene didn't speak, didn't look at me. Their faces were blurred, like smudged photos, moving but somehow incomplete. One leaned into my cab and whispered, "He opened the wrong freight." I didn't respond. I just nodded and rolled away. But in the side mirror, I saw something crawl out of the trailer wreckage. Something long, jointless, slick with oil or blood, dragging chains behind it. It didn't follow, but I knew it knew me. I've stopped sleeping in the sleeper cab. Too many dreams, too many visitors. One night I awoke to scratching on the inside walls. Inside. I pulled back the curtain, heart pounding, and saw my own handprint smeared in blood across the window. But my hands were clean, and there was no one else in the cab. Another night. The mattress was soaked in brake fluid, thick and reeking, but there was no leak. I checked the lines myself. Whatever it is, it's inside now, or maybe I'm inside it. I keep hearing a voice on Channel 23. Doesn't matter where I am. California desert, the swamps of Louisiana, frozen highways in Wyoming. It finds me. A woman's voice. Soft. Measured. Like someone reading bedtime stories too. Coos. She says things like, "Turn left at the scream. Flash your brights if you remember your funeral. You're not the driver anymore. You're the freight." Sometimes I talk back. Once she laughed. Another time she said my name, my full name, and told me things about my past I'd buried so deep I barely remembered them. And then she said, "Your mother is still in the glove compartment." I didn't look for 3 days. When I finally opened it, there was a Polaroid I'd never seen. Me, age 8, standing next to a burned-out truck. My mom smiling behind me. Only, she died when I was 5. I drove through Kansas in the dead of night and came upon a town made entirely of abandoned rigs, dozens of them, lined up in neat rows like tombstones. CBs all whispering at once, like a thousand snakes speaking secrets. I stepped out, flashlight in hand, and walked the rows. One cab door was open. Inside, a body. Still behind the wheel, seatbelt on, but the face had been peeled off. Not mutilated, removed perfectly, like someone had taken it for a mask. On the wall behind the seat, written in rust, "Only the face drives." Things aren't linear anymore. I passed a rig I'd seen destroyed 2 states ago. Its driver dead. I remember the smell of cooked flesh, the way the flames danced. But here it was again, shiny, whole, idling in a rest stop with no driver inside. Opened the door. There was a note on the dash. "She resets the ones she likes." A rookie flagged me down near the Nebraska line. Said he'd seen my online warnings. Said he believed me. I didn't know whether to be relieved or terrified that people were listening. I offered him coffee. Asked where he was headed. He said, "East." I said, "You sure about that?" He paused, blinked, then said, "No." I checked his truck. He had 2 steering wheels. One turned left, the other turned inward, whatever that means. I told him to turn around, but as I drove off, I saw him open his trailer. It was full of mirrors, and his reflection wasn't his. Every so often I pass mile marker 187 again. The numbers are never right. Sometimes it reads 1807. Other times the sign is bent backward as if hit from behind, but there's never a skid mark. One time I passed it and found my own rig parked on the shoulder. Lights off. Cold. I parked behind it. Got out. Walked to the window. Saw myself. Staring. Forward. I banged on the door yelling. My double slowly turned toward me, blood leaking from its eyes and nose. It raised one finger, placed it against its lips, and shushed me. Then it vanished. Just gone. I'm scared I'm becoming a part of this. That one day I'll stop being Ray the driver and start being just another story whispered over the CB. They'll say, "Watch out for that Peterbilt with the glowing grill." Or, "If you see a rig with the numbers reversed 78-1, don't pass it, just keep driving." Maybe I've already died. Maybe I'm just replaying the loop until I figure it out. But I'm not done yet. Not until I reach her. The one building, the on-ramps to nowhere. The one who speaks through emergency alerts and diesel fumes. The one I keep seeing in reflections. Tall, pale, drenched in roadkill and sorrow. Her eyes are yellow like hazard lights, and she smiles like she knows something you don't. She's waiting for me. Out there, beyond exit 0, beneath a sky that never dawns, on a road no man has ever paved, and I'm gonna find her, I have to, because the stories don't stop here, they're just changing lanes. The end is here, I can feel it. The highway has taken everything. My sleep, my peace, my sanity, my memories. I keep hearing it now. The call, the rumbling hum of the road beneath me. Her hum. I've been driving for days without stopping, no brakes, no fuel, no rest. I passed mile after mile, the pavement bleeding beneath me, the sky hanging heavy with ash. The horizon was always just out of reach. I'm getting close. I know it. She's there, behind the fog, in the curve of every exit sign, in the flickering lights of the gas stations I pass in the dead of night. She is the road. She is the road that never ends. It's past midnight when I see it. The sign. It's not like the others. This one is wrong. Distorted. Like it's been pulled from the fabric of reality itself. The letters are scratched out, burned into the metal. I can barely read them, but they don't matter anymore. I know what it says. Exit 0. I take the off-ramp. The world folds around me as I descend. The road no longer feels like something I'm driving on. It feels like it's pulling me inside, swallowing, the truck whole. There's a sound like the grinding of gears, a low groan that makes my teeth ache, and then silence. The air is thick. There's no wind, no sound, just the low, oppressive hum that seems to come from the ground itself. I stop the truck. The headlights catch something in the distance, a figure standing at the edge of the road. Her. I step out of the truck, my legs shaking. She's waiting. She doesn't move, doesn't speak, just stands there, her face hidden beneath a shadowed hood, her eyes glowing faintly like the yellow of worn-out streetlights. I know who she is. I know what she is. The one who's been pulling all of us here. The one who feeds on the lost. She lifts a hand, and in it is a key. The key to the next road. The next story. Her voice, soft but clear, breaks through the heavy silence. You're mine now. It's not a question. It's a command. I don't know what happens next. I don't know if I can escape or if I even want to. The road behind me has stopped existing. The world around me is empty. An endless stretch of highway that fades into darkness. A horizon that never reaches the sky. Maybe I'll keep driving, chasing after the endless shifting path. Or maybe I'll join the others. The ones who've already lost. The ones who've disappeared into the night, swallowed whole by the road. I turn to face her, to finally acknowledge the truth that's been gnawing at the edges of my mind for so long. And as I step forward, I realize there's no turning back. The truck, my rig, it was never meant to carry cargo. It was always meant to carry me.